In my opinion, Spring Data is one of the best Spring projects available to developers. It makes persisting data to an underlying data store trivial. The only slight problem with the project was the amount of configuration necessary to get it established. With the invention of Spring Boot, those headaches are now erased, and creating a Spring Data project has never been easier. Let's take a closer look at our chapter. We'll start out by using Spring Boot's starter POMs to quickly establish a Spring Data JPA project. Within this project, we'll use an entity manager to persist our entities. We'll then advance into working with Spring Data repositories, which are a much more efficient way to persist our entities to an underlying data store. You'll see how Spring Boot auto-scans and looks for our entities and repositories within our project and creates them as beans within the Spring IOC container. We'll then move on to take a look at how we can configure our persistence provider to automatically build in changes to our underlying data model. Changes to our entities will quickly be reflected within our database, allowing us to develop freely and explore new options and new approaches during our development efforts. Finally, we'll take a look at how we can configure Spring Data JPA to connect to a persistent database. We'll be working with a MySQL database and we'll see how we can configure our project using Spring Boot very quickly to establish that connection. Now, with the MySQL data store we'll be working with, these are the default details for that connection. So if you'd like to follow along verbatim, these are the credentials that we'll be using. So that's an overview of our chapter. Let's now get started with our lessons.